A very warm good afternoon to all of you. I'm Sakshi, and on behalf of Net Zero Alliance India and First View Group, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you in today's webinar on Maharashtra Net Zero Vision, Manufacturing and Corporates. It is my pleasure to be here as your host. We would like to extend our gratitude to our industry partner Citi for their immense support to help organize this event. And many thanks to our esteemed guest speakers and attendees for their valuable presence in today's webinar. Your active participation has contributed to making this event truly remarkable. May I now request Dr. Nitin, who is the head of Environment Management Division at Central Pulp and Paper Research Institute, to deliver the keynote address on environment sustainability and net zero emissions in Indian paper sector, overview of challenges, strategies, opportunities, policy interventions, and financial incentives. Dr. Nitin is MSc, PhD, and is working as the head of Environmental Management Division, Biotechnology Division, IT Division, and Statistical Division at the Central Pulp and Paper Research Institute in Saharanpur. He has over 30 years of working experience in the field of environmental management. His area of work includes biomethanation, troubleshooting, performance evaluation and adequacy assessment of ETP, water conservation, water audit, odor control, zero liquid discharge, etc. As a technical manager, he was instrumental in getting the Environmental Management Division NABL accredited for water and air pollution parameters. He was actively associated with successful commissioning of first full-scale biomethanation plant for recovery of bioenergy from black liquor. He is actively associated in database generation for revising the existing norms and formulating new norms for pulp and paper industry. He has also visited over 250 plus paper mills. Attendees are requested to post in their questions that will be taken up after his speech. Uh, Over to you, sir, for the presentation. So your presentation is visible clearly. We are not able to hear you though. So we're not able to hear you yet. Can you please switch on your mic once?
Now I'm audible? Hello?
Yes, you are clear. Please go ahead.
Uh, so thanks to uh, for inviting me as a keynote speaker. And as you know that environmental sustainability and net zero emission in Indian paper sector. Paper is one of the most environmental sustainable products as it is biodegradable, recyclable, renewable, and produced from sources which are renewable and sustainable. It is said that no work is complete without paper work being done, right from toilet paper to sending plant to sending a rocket in the this every anywhere in ever, one or the other stage you require a paper. Indian paper industry coming to is a what you call use a wide spectrum of raw materials, hardwood, agro residues, waste paper, market pulps, and they produce a diverse range of products like packaging, coated, newsprint, tissues, and hygiene and specialty papers. And it is a diverse process, use diverse process like from chemical pulping, recycled fiber, and mechanical pulping. In recent times, there has been an increased focus on achieving and meeting sustainable development goals. India's commitment in COP26 and now 28 for achieving 50% of the energy requirement from renewable sources, as well as reduce to total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons up to 2030, achieving net zero emissions or carbon neutrality by 2070, mission life, that is lifestyle for environment, net new environmental related initiatives, framework like water neutrality, circular economy, etc. Cutting carbon emission and pollution is only one side of the coin, that is sustainability. In fact, sustainability is really about development and growth in an eco-friendly and social equitable manner. To achieve it, Industry 4.0 involves combining physical operations and production with digital technology, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. In fact, Industry 4.0 is a digital transformation is a digital transformation and the core of fourth industrial revolution. Industrial 4.0 through smart technologies could contribute towards addressing global challenges such as climate change, clean energy, depletion of natural resources, and reducing digital environmental impact. Industry 4.0 is important not just because it boosts energy efficiency and reduce cost, but it is a pathway to sustainable development and can help the industry to meet its sustainable development goal. Now, coming to the paper industry, what are the sustainable development goals? Basically, one of the sustainable goals is the captive plantation to meet raw material requirement as well as reduce greenhouse emissions. Significant efforts are already being carried out by the paper industry to promote agro or farm forestry to have a good quality of fibrous raw material at right and competitive price. And as today, industry and estimated over 12 to 15 lakh hectares of land is under plantation, which is engaging around 5 to 6 lakhs of farmers in growing this plantation. In all, it is a wood positive industry today that is grows more than it consumes. I would like to highlight here that not a single tree of is cut, not a single sheet of paper is made from the forest wood in India. We are producing paper from hardwood, that is eucalyptus poplar, or agro residues like bagasse, wheat straw, rice straw, etc. Or from, and 75% is produced from waste paper. So saying that save paper, save trees, save environment, save earth, that is totally a misnomer in Indian context. Due to this plantation, there has been an expansion of the country's green cover, enabling significant carbon dioxide sequestration and enrichment of depleted soil and replacement of groundwater. The policies and legislative changes in 2022 Union Budget is a welcome initiative to encourage and promote agroforestry and private forestry to increase green cover in the country. 75% of the paper in India is now produced from recycling of waste paper or recycled paper. There is a need to increase recovery of indigenous paper, as around 40 or 50% is imported in origin. Suitable policy interventions are required for it, for collection, segregation, and reuse. And CPPRI my institute has taken an initiative by setting up a waste paper recycling and promotion center. Coming to the what you call the fresh water consumption in paper industry, this is also a part of the sustainable development goal. According to the Water Action Decade Initiative 2018-28, a steep fall of around 40% in fresh water availability is expected by 2030, which alongside with the rising population will push towards the global water crisis. Water is among key drivers among the sustainable development goals. Indian paper industry can play a pivotal role in its part through efficient, responsible, and sustainable and equitable use of water. Indian paper industry, with help of CPPI, has reduced significantly freshwater consumption. Today, 10 years back, we were using around 250 meter cube per ton of paper. Today, most of the paper mills are using less than 50 meter cube. And in waste paper based mills, they are using less than 10 meter cube. And even some mills have gone for zero liquid discharge, that they are consuming around 1 to 2 meter cube per ton of paper. Still, there is scope to reduce fresh water consumption. Adoption of in-house approach, best practices, new fiber line technologies, including process optimization of water consumption, improvement of backwater and treated effluent quality to improve increased use recycling. There have been a reach potential of around 20 to 25 meter cube per ton of water saving, as has been highlighted. Due to time paucity, I'm just not going to the detail. Now, recently, CPPR has also worked on the membrane filtration of the treated effluent and different other effluent streams under a UNIDO project. We have done successful pilot scale trials on the skid mounted membrane filtration system, and we have been able to reduce color, which is a major pollution parameter, to by around 90 to 95%, and COD and around and BOD. And you can see the quality of the, we have used the ultrafiltration and nanofiltration combination, which has given us a very good result. And this can help in reuse and recycling. We are able to recover our process water quality from treated effluent. So that can help in reuse and recycling and reducing the water consumption. Water utility, in context water consumption, the water utility concept is also gaining momentum for managing water resources, elevating water crisis, contributing to water stewardship, particularly for new developments. It is the concept for reducing and offsetting the impact of water footprint, and provides a means to industry to offset its water consumption by purchasing credits to be invested in water efficiency efforts and extend clean water availability, similar to carbon offset program. The water footprint of any activity is reduced as far as practically possible, and ensuring that negative socio-economic and environmental externalities are reduced as much possible. It proceeds towards achieving the water policy status after augmentation through various means such as rainwater harvesting, reuse, recycling the treated effluent and suitable quality, and the process and subsequent storage. Water utility thus help in reducing the water consumption, improve operational efficiency, and investing in projects that promote sustainable and equitable use of water. Of late, pulp and paper mills India are investing more into water treatment infrastructures. In nutshell, primary aim of water neutrality concept is to reduce demand for paper, that is maximum operational efficiency, through 3M 7R approach. Recently, the paper industry have been draft notification standards have come out for pulp and paper industry, where again the water consumption figures are quite stringent, and these have been recently introduced in November 23. And similarly, the pollution parameters have also been made very stringent. And parallelly, CPPR and CBC are working on Charter 3.0 in Ganga River Basin, where the water consumption are even stringent than what are the proposed for the national norms. So in the Indian paper industry is gearing up to reduce these freshwater and meet these targets. Now, coming to the energy, India is the fourth largest emitter of CO2 emissions. Challenging commitment is to produce 500 gigawatt of energy by non-fossil fuel by 2030 and phase out the coal by 2060. The target is challenging, especially in pulp and paper sector, as it is supposed to be the fourth largest consumer of energy in the world, and energy consumption is the major constitute around 30% of the total paper cost. Energy is around 50 to 30% total production cost, and there's a need to meet the targeted goals through improvement of capacity utilization, optimization of process operations, reducing multiplicity of machinery, improving machine runnability, reducing downtime, and switching over to energy efficient multi-fuel fuels. The consumption of steam per ton of paper in the production in India has reduced significantly from 11 to 15 tons to around 7 to 8 tons per ton of paper in integrated pulp and paper mills, while electricity has come down to 800 to 900 kilowatt per hour. There has been around 15 to 20% reduction in energy consumption in last few years. Still, electricity and steam consumption are one of the biggest challenges before Indian pulp and paper sector. It is to be noted that integrated pulp and paper industry generates around 40 to 50% of the total power through incineration of black liquor, which is renewable, and thus makes pulp and paper production sustainable to a certain extent. In fact, black liquor generated in chemical pulp mill is the fifth largest fuel used in the world and has made pulping inherently sustainable in terms of energy. In recent, what you call the performance achieved trade scheme launched by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Indian pulp and paper sector has participated proactively. Initially, there were 31 designated consumers. Now, another 100 consumers has been included. And energy efficient technologies adopted by Indian pulp and paper industry to achieve their targets are extended delignification, oxygen optimizing refining process, shoe press, and multi-pro dryers, back pressure turbines, and so on. And similarly, while earlier the paper mills generally consume 1.5 to 2 tons of coal per ton of paper, some leading paper mills in India have now achieved what you call 0.5 to 1 tons of per ton of paper, which is really appreciable. Coming to Indian pulp and paper stream, many mills are now going for bioenergy generation for treatment of the pulp and paper industry, effluent, and utilization of biogas generated. And recently, a few agro-based mills have gone a step further to convert biogas generated into compressed biogas for use as alternate fuel for vehicles or generation of electricity, or into or as alternative to into LPG for use in heating of dryers. So utilization of biogas generated in this case by conversion of compressed biogas is helping in reducing around 157 kg per day greenhouse emissions. As per estimate, coal consumption is expected to reduce by 18 to 20%, while the bioenergy utilization is expected to grow by 20 to 25% in pulp and paper sector by 2030. Recently, in some states, especially South India, it has been made mandatory for industry to meet at least 6% of the energy requirement from solar or wind energy. As such, many pulp and paper mills in these regions are opting for solar power as well as wind power for ancillary application and preferably low consumption areas and for converting sections. Green hydrogen is again an area where the pulp and paper industry needs to focus on uh, to curb its dependence on energy imports and to wean economy of fossil fuels to meet the climate target. In this perspective, this green hydrogen is a potential area as it supports a gradual transition toward low carbon source of energy. It can be generated from natural gas and non-renewable gases. It can be used as an energy carrier. And on 16th February 2000, Ministry of Powers has declared a policy to promote green hydrogen use. SCCT in Germany, Lucart paper mill in Europe, and Smurfkraft Kappa Saliet paper mill in France have already started use of hydrogen in their paper making process, either on pilot scale or on the mill scale. Then coming to the sustainability and circular economy is again an issue which is a buzzword today. And it is a regenerative system in which resource input and water waste and emissions are minimized by closing and narrowing energy and water loops. This can be achieved by reducing, recycling, reusing, refurbishing, and recovering resource input used for manufacturing and by minimizing waste and emissions. These concepts are based on three principles, namely waste and pollution and emission, circulation of products and material, and regeneration of nature. Few examples of circular economy, like in pulp and paper industry, like bioenergy recovery through biomethanation, utilization of lime sludge for cement manufacture, reuse of process condensate in various stages of pulp mill, use of biofuels like wood dust, pith, ETP sludge, etc., use as partial replacement of fossil fuel, the use of caustic bioalloy water in soda recovery plant, the use of paper machine backwater after treatment to disc filter, etc., optimizing of chemical dilution ratio, reuse of vacuum sealing water. These are the basic circular economy issues. Now, recently, with ban on plastic, single-use plastic, paper offer as a preferable alternative in context of biodegradable, compostable, recycled nature. It has a potential to replace at least 25% of the SUV market in packaging, tableware, and food packaging. It can also make a positive impact on circular economy through manufacturing, distribution, and disposal. Plastic waste management is again an issue because on an average from waste paper based mills, we generate around 1 to 1.5% per ton of paper of plastic, which has a calorific value of 2000 to 3000 kilocalories per kg. Most of these mills have been till now have been burning it in their regular boilers, but now few base mills have commissioned waste to energy boiler for incineration of plastic waste along with municipal solid waste. Yeah. On the other hand, Institute of Petroleum has developed a technology on pilot scale to extract value-added product like diesel, gasoline, aromatics. Waste paper, plastic pyrolysis technology has also been recently introduced, which involves a chemical reaction in which polymer in plastic is decomposed, cracked into small molecules, producing pyrolysis oil, which are refining can be used as a raw material. Now, coming to the financial ecosystems, a new framework by RBI from June 1, 2010 has been introduced, which offers green deposit to customer aiming at developing a green finance ecosystem. It is a financial system which supports and enables investments in environmental sustainable projects. It includes green loan, green insurance, and green funds. It aims to encourage industries to meet their obligatory obligation arising from other legal frameworks by taking action which are able to converge with activities relevant for generating a buying green credits. So these are the different in this in COP28 in Dubai recently in December 23, Prime Minister Modi has Honorable Prime Minister Modi has launched a Green Credit Initiative focused on creating carbon sink through people participation. Green Credit Initiative is a pro-planet, proactive, positive initiative that goes beyond the commercial mindset associated with the carbon credits. And these are various green credit like tree plantation, water-based green credit, waste management-based credit, air pollution credit, eco-mark-based green credit, sustainable building and infrastructure-based green, which the paper industry can take advantage of. Now, coming similarly, the green deposit schemes have been launched, which is investment for environmentally friendly project. It promotes environmental sustainable governance and sustainability. It supports in financing projects which promote low carbon, climate resilient, and sustainable economy, such as renewable energy, clean transportation, pollution prevention, green building, water conservation, and wastewater management. It also addresses risk and opportunities associated with environmental issues such as climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Green financing is progressively gaining acceptance in India. It is expected to augment the flow of credit to green activities and projects. It is expected to facilitate sustainable development and create a positive impact. So to conclude, the major challenges before paper industry to deliver a quality product at competitive cost with low energy footprint, with lowest environmental footprint, and meeting stringent norms. The strategies and approach are technology, in-house strategies, renewable and sustainable energy, which can help in mitigating the climate change, resource conservation, water conservation, energy conservation. And for this, Industry 4.0-led sustainable development goals can contribute to several benefits on a holistic level, including social and economic advantage in addition to environmental benefits. The financial institutions have an important role to play to promote sustainable finance and support country transition toward low carbon, resource efficient, and sustainable economy. Paper industry should come forward to tap and take advantage of initiatives and schemes so as to contribute to achieving sustainable development goals as well as reducing overall environmental footprint and net zero emissions. Thank you very much. Hello.
Request you to stop sharing your screen, please. Thank you, sir. And thank you for presenting those thoughtful insights. Of course, we request the audience to post in their queries. And in order to acknowledge the urgent need to accelerate the transition towards global net zero emissions, the Net Zero States series is an initiative to champion sustainable development and create a positive impact on climate change. With three successful editions in Delhi, Chennai, and Surat, the series aims to further promote environmental awareness and action with more such events lined up across the country. At Maharashtra's Net Zero Vision, we envision a world where energy consumption is balanced with renewable energy production, effectively neutralizing the carbon footprint. Though, through insightful discussions, knowledge sharing, and real world case studies, we strive to inspire a collective commitment towards achieving a sustainable, clean energy future. In today's webinar, we'll explore how organizations in Maharashtra are actively engaged in initiatives to combat climate change and strive towards achieving their sustainability goals. Before we proceed, I would like to make a brief announcement. We encourage all attendees to actively engage in the discussion by posting their questions and queries in the Q&A box. Our esteemed panel of speakers will address these questions during the interactive Q&A session at the conclusion of the panel discussion. Now, without any further ado, let us begin our highly anticipated panel discussion session for today. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panel of experts who will share their insights and expertise on the topic at hand. Mr. Arko Ghosh from ONGC Tripura Power Company, Mr. Jasmeet Khurana from the World Economic Forum, Mr. Sami Sheth from Lumina Cloud Infra, Mr. Prakash Mishra from Galleon Shipping Limited, Mr. Rajaraghavan from Geo, and Mr. Sanjay Deshpande from Clearfood India Private Limited. Mr. Ghosh, who is the head of EHS and Fire at ONGC Tripura Power Company Limited, will be the moderator for the session. Mr. Ghosh is a distinguished HSC and ESG professional who boasts over a decade of extensive experience in EHS and ESG operations, compliance, audit, and training across diverse sectors, including EPC, telecom, renewable, oil and gas, and service industries. He is currently serving as the plant head for EHS and Fire at ONGC Tripura, and he brings a wealth of expertise in social accountability and sustainability reporting to his role. So let's start. Over to you, Mr. Ghosh.
Thanks, Sakshi. Thanks for the warm welcome. Uh, so I will start this discussion with my fellow panelists, which have loads of experience in this sustainability sector. So first, I will go to Mr. Jasmeet Khurana, who is the lead climate technology World Economic Forum. So I will ask Mr. Jasmeet to give a brief introduction of himself, and also we have two questions lined up for him. What is the role of WEF in climate change agenda and the latest development in COP? And what is the possible policy recommendation that you would like to propose to boost the low carbon development in India? Over to you, Mr. Jasmeet.
Thank you to both the organizers and the moderator for having me here. Let me answer the second question first, as that is kind of most fresh, which is what happened at COP. So typically, like in my personal observations, COP has stayed maybe like a decade or two behind science in most cases. But this was the first time at COP that the responsibility for climate change was actually fixed on fossil fuels. To believe it or not, that text has not appeared in any of the COP declarations before this. So, that's a positive step. About 100 countries also signed a pledge to both triple their renewable energy production and consumption, as well as double energy efficiency. So this kind of goes above and beyond some of the commitments that countries had made at the Paris Climate Agreement. Of course, India and China have not been signatory to this pledge, not because India is not going to triple its renewable energy production, which it will by 2030, or the target of energy efficiency was too daunting, but more because of the package that pledge came in terms of its overall language on coal and a few other things, which is why countries like India and China kind of decided not to go ahead in signing that pledge, which 100 other countries have signed. So net it's positive, from a global perspective. And then there was a finalization of the mechanism for loss and damage, which is, how do you pay for, or how do rich countries or developed countries pay for some of the damage which happens due to climate events in developing or poor countries. Of course, the amounts, which are a few $1 billion, are too small, but at least there has been a progress in terms of formalizing a loss and damage fund, which was done last year, and then formalizing the process of how it will be dispersed, and what are the mechanisms, etc. They've all been finalized in this year's COP. I think these are broadly the three biggest outcomes from this year's COP. Of course, the big misses which have been there for the last several COPs in terms of expectations are carbon markets, so Article 6.2, 6.5, etc., which are absolutely necessary to both create a price on carbon, but also as a mechanism for funds or climate mitigation funds to move from developed countries to developing countries. So that's broadly kind of that I would say is the biggest miss, apart from any big kind of declaration coming out of this COP to complement what we said during Paris, which is we want to keep it under 2 degrees and aim for 1.5 degrees. We are still not on track for that. So the world has already warmed about 1.2 degrees, and we need much more kind of political leadership across the world to really stop climate change from becoming even more worse. So every fraction of a degree is really important, and the more we can do to mitigate that, the better for every one of us, right? So more political kind of will is required to do that. It happened, like some of these things play out during COPs every year, but it can also happen outside of COPs. So for example, the Inflation Reduction Act in US, or uh, the kind of new energy bills, etc., that have happened in Europe, and India's own commitments and progress on various aspects like renewable energy, EVs, etc. So a lot of these things can happen outside of COP, but COP just provides a place for everyone to come together and move at the same pace, which of course is also very difficult given the political situation at any point in time, not just today, which is kind of highly fragmented anyway. So that's on COP. What the World Economic Forum is doing, of course, World Economic Forum is a leading global, institution which brings public sector and private sector together on various topics. And climate is, of course, one of the key topics as well. We have what we call, we have a center called Center for Climate and Nature, where we have about 190 companies who are partners, and roughly you could say that most of the world's or your corporate revenue would be more or less kind of represented in those 190 companies who are some of the largest in the world, right? And they had to share that responsibility to work on this. We have several flagship initiatives that these companies work together to run. So for example, 50% of the emission reductions which are required by 2050 will need to depend on technologies that don't exist today at the scale and cost at which they need to be. So we have something called the First Movers Coalition, which we created along with John Kerry, who's the US representative on climate. And that basically brings together about 100 companies with about $4 trillion in revenue to come together and say that we will create the demand for some of these frontier technologies, whether it's in all sectors. There are different types of technologies which are required, which are quite nascent at this stage. So the current commitments themselves have added up to about $15 billion a year by 2030, in terms of these companies procuring some of these frontier technologies which are not available yet on scale and at the right price, to make them available at scale and at the right price and provide the demand for that to happen. So several hundreds of billions of dollars of procurements will happen through these companies on these kind of advanced and frontier technologies through this First Movers Coalition. We also have something called 1t.org, which is a pledge that these companies, or a part of these companies, have made to both plant and conserve about 1 trillion trees. Of course, natural climate solutions are the cheapest form of carbon removal from the atmosphere. and they can be done at scale. Just as anecdotally, there's a video which I don't know if some of you have seen. It's a NASA kind of video simulation of how CO2 emissions are kind of play out in the atmosphere, and it shows, if you see the video, it shows how during summers the CO2 emission or the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere almost decreases by half, and that happens because in the northern hemisphere the leaves on the trees grow back, right? Just because of that, the concentration of CO2 reduces considerably every year, and then it kind of goes up in the northern hemisphere as snow falls and trees shed their leaves, etc. So that gives a sense of how important natural climate solutions can be. And statistically about 20% of emission reductions can happen just through natural climate solutions, which is plant based, planting trees, but other kind of allied agro and forestry related initiatives. So 1t.org is another big initiative. We have lots of other initiatives around oceans, around other forms of technologies, as well as uh, processes, policies, etc. We also have something called the CEO Climate Alliance, which again is a large kind of representation of the global corporate world. We do have an Indian version of it called the India Climate CEO Alliance, which has identified, for example, hydrogen, natural climate solutions, and value chain decarbonization as its three kind of pillars. And there's kind of strong work going on across all of these things in the Indian context as well. I personally lead our work on climate technology. So how do we use fourth industrial revolution technologies such as AI, satellite data, and some of the most frontier technologies from a material standpoint, synthetic materials, and those kinds of things. And how do we use some of these most frontier technologies from a climate perspective? Of course, companies use these technologies today and are developing these technologies for commercial purposes. But how do we bring everyone together to see and exploit the potential of this in a collaborative manner, where businesses, governments, and others can come together to use some of these frontier technologies from a climate perspective? So that is what kind of ingest what happened at COP and what the World Economic Forum is doing, and what kind of my team at the World Economic Forum India office, which is a Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution, is doing. Back to the moderator.
Uh, Thanks, Mr. Jasmeet, for your guidance and knowledge sharing for on the same. Now I will ask Mr. Samir to take up. He is the ESG and EHS director at Lumenia Cloud Infra. So my question to Mr. Samir is, what is the role of digital infrastructure in low carbon development and the best practices in energy efficiency building design? Over to you, Mr. Samir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ghosh, and good afternoon, everybody. A very pertinent question. We all are looking at developing countries having a huge requirement for infrastructure development. And as Mr. Khurana said, or Dr. Nitin pointed out, we have to do this infrastructure development at as minimum a carbon footprint that we can consume as much as possible. And there are many initiatives that go into reducing the carbon footprint. Digitalization happens to be one of the cog in the wheel. If I look at digitalization as one of the tool, and if we look at, say, various scenarios as digitalization in industry format, digitalization in personal format. So if we look at the use of digitalization in industry format, which was also touched base by Dr. Nitin, Industry 4.0 happens to be one of the key element which is used by most of the industries to ensure that they bring a lot of process improvement and lot of accuracy in their processes. As a result of that, you have very less amount of rework that is required to be done in the manufacturing setup, which in turn cuts down upon your additional demand for power and natural resources. It also enables quick transmission of data to the decision makers in order to take them the right decision at the right time, as well as it improves your uh, overall efficiency in the organization. If you look at supply chain management, which which becomes one of the biggest element in any of the industry organization. Solutions such as SAP or I2 technologies, they help you predict the demand as well as your maintain the inventory levels across your value chain in a most optimum way. It helps you to cut down upon your transport requirements. It helps to uh, tell the suppliers the actual stock position at the consumer end. Some of the examples, if I have to quote, way back in 1997-98, Asian Paints adopted SAP as well as I2 technology solution where they mapped all their factories across India, the entire planning system that they had, and the demand used to be fed to that particular system. And the system used to look at the best location in terms of the inventory of material, available at various factories at the vendor points. They also used to look at constraints like people availability, regional festivals, strikes in particular region, political unrest, and the system used to throw an output that for a particular demand, this is the best plant in the country for you to manufacture at the lowest cost and optimum way for you to deliver to the customer. We look at automotive industry who has pioneered this just-in-time concept. It has forced suppliers to set up shops around the OEMs, cutting upon a huge requirement for transportation of material. People can see, the vendors can see the stock demand in the factory, and they can start supplying the material actually just in time, which also is one of the ethos of ESG, where you look to source from as locally as possible. So these are some of the examples which help cut down upon otherwise overproduction, which in turn leads to requirement of storage space, which in turn leads to power consumption, and again the cooling system, which in turn requires power. So all of this gets eliminated because of the accuracy that digitalization has helped these companies to come with. If I change my gears from industry to our own personal lives, COVID has been one of the biggest enabler for digitalization in our personal lives. Uh, be the fintech revolution. I mean, I remember a few years back, or probably a decade back, I used to have to go to bank with a checkbook and passbook. Today, I don't have to go to the bank at all. Uh, Everything, in fact, I have not visited my home branch for last 18 years, to be very honest. And this has also made it possible for banks to shrink their footprint, again impacting the power consumption and its impact on the overall carbon footprint because of the banking system. You look at digital media, with due respect to what Dr. Nitin shared, and it was an insight to me as well. But then the print industry is slowly moving towards obsolescence. Very few portion of our population who have been using newspapers early on are still hooked up to the newspapers. The younger generation hardly I see with newspapers. OTT media, the theater footprints have gone down. But uh, these are some of the advantages. Look at stock market, for example. Few years back, you used to buy shares which were paper shares. Now the entire operation has completely 100% digitalized. So these are some of the advantages that digitalization has given. And people may ask, is digitalization the only solution and it doesn't have any carbon impact? Probably no, it does have. The data centers that are required to handle this kind of additional data, a huge amount of data for that matter now, consumes a lot of power. But most of the data center industry is now signatory to RE100, wherein they pledge to have their hundreds of megawatt power requirements so through renewable sources. Data centers need a lot of cooling for their servers, A lot of technologies have been emerging now where people look at immersive or liquid cooling technology to have uh, reduction in the cooling requirement for the entire data center. In the developed world, where they have the advantage of having a data center very close to uh, either the North Pole or South Pole, where the ambient itself is very low, they source that or they take the advantage of that particular atmospheric condition to cool down their data center and cut down upon their power requirements. But yes, I mean, digitalization is definitely enabling solutions and helping us to develop the required infrastructure with a low carbon economy. And these things are possible when you start any project where when you are at the design stage, that's the best time where you can actually uh, incorporate some of the features in your project or in your infrastructure design, which can actually help you to cut down upon your carbon footprint in the long run. I mean, you need to choose your equipments which are extremely energy efficient equipments, 5-star rated equipment. Go for lighting, which is say LED lighting all across. If it's an industry setup, look at putting adequate capacity of RLC filters, which will ensure that your power consumed is always at unity power factor, cutting down upon your reactive power losses. Again, if it's an industry setup, you can also look at segregating your lighting circuit and power it through a separate transformer at a slightly reduced voltage. It will definitely give you cost advantage, but it will also give you a very minimal dip in your lumens, which you will not probably recognize. Uh, you can also look at uh, extensive metering that you can or you should put at the time of your design, which will help feed into your building management system. The more you monitor, the more you are able to fragment and segregate the point of consumption, the more you will be in a better position to control the consumption. Look at insulating your buildings in a way that your external ambient doesn't heat up your uh, internal environment, cutting the load on your HVAC. You can use high refractive paints on your buildings if you are not able to put up insulating walls or insulating roofs. For sure, go for renewable solar panels across your on-site and if possible off-site. So these are some of the areas which you can use as your best practices at the design stage itself. Other than the energy aspect where the efficiency takes is being taken care of, you can look at refrigerants in HVAC which are environment friendly. Go for HFOs which will not deplete your ozone layer in case of any leakage. uh, so these are some of the points that as a designer you can look at and eventually plan for an infrastructure which is say IGBC platinum rated, wherein you will take care of all the requirements of consuming natural lighting, natural ventilation, restoring the original soil of your project area, look for local vegetation, all of this stuff. The physical cost increase typically at the project stage is not more than 15 to 20%, which if the decision maker is a CFO, it becomes a difficult thing to kind of explain it to him. But the advantages of spending that 15% extra upfront gives you a huge advantage in the entire life cycle of your plant. So this is what I think are some of the areas that we can look into to try and support our contribution in giving a low carbon free economy to everyone of us over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samir. Thanks for your very insightful with relevant example on the topic. So now I will go to Mr. Prakash Mishra, who is the director of Galleon Shipping Limited. My question to him is the key challenges being faced to transform the Scope 3 emission reduction pathway, and can you delight the specific methodology to you employ to develop and enhance skills, especially given the dynamic nature of the sector of the shipping sector. So over to you, Mr. Prakash.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, and good afternoon, all the esteemed panelists and all the attendees here. Yes, if you see the emission, it is actually divided into three parts: scope one, scope two, and scope three. So, scope one and scope two, uh, it is you who are controlling it basically. Okay, it is under your control because all the means whatever is required, you are getting the data directly. Whereas scope 3, you have got dependencies on the others, means it covers like purchase of goods, capital goods, upstream and downstream suppliers. So getting the data from them is a challenge. Now whatever at the moment which we get is an estimated data. So now, how to change this is the question. So for that, actually, what has happened is training is there, the other aspects are there, but what I think personally is that this actually needs to be inculcated into a person. Unless and until a person is totally dedicated that he wants to do something for the environment, they will not get into, because upstream and downstream suppliers uh, are not much interested in putting up capital cost to reduce this emission. So this is one of the key challenges which is being faced, because they they are not very much keen in getting it. But ultimately, what we can do is, like from suppliers, we need to go in for suppliers who are going towards the environment, who are controlling their emissions, and they can share the correct data to us. If we start using those suppliers, we will be getting the data perfectly, and we can together achieve net zero, uh, which is 2070 for international this thing, but for Maharashtra, I think they have put an aggressive target of 2050. So this is one of the challenges which we are facing. Regarding my segment, which is the shipping segment, if we go into that, so there, like European Union, what they have done is they are converting everything into means they are giving preference to hydrogen, and even all the ports, the fuel, you can go in for hydrogen. So this is an initiative and it is available there, which is not actually available in other countries. So if we the challenges there is that if we go in European Union, yes, if you are going, uh, you will have to have that, or other else you will have to give taxes if you are using other forms of fuel like diesel or heavy oil. At that you'll have to give an extra taxes while entry, and if you are using hydrogen fuel, you are not going to you get a tax relief on that. So this is a way which European Union has decided to uh, do for the environment. Similarly, in this, if we can adapt such methods and if we can utilize it in India, so it will be a beneficial place. And regarding trading and all, again, I tell you, it is just that it has to be inculcated into a person, uh, that what effect does the emission have on the long term on the humanity. So this is what I would be putting it. And Mr. Ghosh, you can take it forward again.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash, and thanks for the insightful discussion on the shipping industry. Now I will go to Mr. Raja Raghavan, who is the Vice President of ESG in Geo. My question to you is, what is your POV in the on the role of generative AI in mitigation climate related risk? Can you elaborate on specific instance where generative AI has demonstrated its potential to innovative solutions? And the second question is, reflecting on your challenges, could you provide some example on instance where integrating sustainability into technology faced unique hurdles, and what are the strategies or innovation are implemented to overcome those hurdles? Over to you, Mr. Rajaraghavan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ghosh, for those questions. So, technology, of course, will play a crucial role in the fight against climate change. I think almost every speaker before me has, sort of reference to technology, and particularly the industrial revolution that we are undergoing, the fourth industrial revolution. Now, increasing productivity and efficiency is going to be a crucial element of the global net zero agenda. Uh, and that is possible only by leveraging technology. So let me take up the example of maybe the agricultural sector, because that we haven't touched so far in our discussion. Now, as per IPCC, the agriculture sector contributes roughly around 8.5% to the global GHG footprint, and an additional 13 to 14% due to the changes in land use because of deforestation to expand those for agricultural purposes. So that is problem number one for the sector. The other problem that we have is in a few decades' time, we need to be feeding a population of around 10 billion that the planet will have in a couple of decades from now. Now, to be able to feed that population, the kind of food gap that we're looking at, as per WRI reports, is somewhere around in the range of 56%. Also, in terms of the land required to be able to cultivate that kind of food, uh, the overall land requirement would be somewhere twice as the size of India. So you can sort of get a sense of the problem here, where we are causing significant emissions, we have a significant food gap, and we require huge amounts of vast area of land to be able to grow that food. Now, there are multiple solutions that need to be multiple legs for the solution that needs to be designed to address this problem. One of that is agricultural productivity, and that is where precision agriculture comes in. And precision agriculture is sort of enabled by technology. So, if I were to take you through a few examples, soil monitoring, where you sense what is the nutrient in the quantity of the nutrient in the soil, the temperature of the soil, the moisture content in the soil. You sort of use those inputs for smart irrigation, which automatically controls the amount of water and nutrients to be deployed to maintain the soil health. You use technology to detect pests, identify where those pests are, and the activity, and generate insights about infestations, and then assess what's the quantity of pesticides to be applied. You use drones to be able to monitor those pests, as well as to be able to spray the right quantity of pesticides. You use machinery management techniques to ensure that the farm equipment are undergoing minimal breakdowns by employing preventive maintenance. And similarly, in allied agricultural activities as well, for example, like aquaculture or pisciculture, you monitor the content of dissolved oxygen, the pH of the water, and its temperature to make sure that your productivity is maximized. So this is an example of how technology that is evolving, the latest technology that is evolving, can help enhance productivity in just one sector. Similar case studies, of course, exist in almost every sector and in different areas, including manufacturing and health and safety, and a number of them. We may not have the time to go through a few others. Uh, but I can share with you what is it that Geo is doing to be able to make some of these technologies a reality. So one, to begin with, the existing technology that we had so far, which is 4G, is not capable of getting these kind of revolutionary technologies implemented. And what is required is 5G. So look at 5G is not just faster 4G, but it is like the foundational technology that is required uh, to sort of unlock the potential of all the revolutionary technologies like AI and IoT. And it is foundational because it has low latency. It can handle vast amount of data, and it can connect a large number of devices. It can connect like roughly 1 million devices per square kilometer of area. Now, what Geo has been doing over the last 12 months or so is making sure that 5G is ubiquitous. Without ubiquity, 5G will not be effective. So that is one area that we are working on. We're also creating the devices and the platform to be able to leverage this technology. Geo, over the last 7 years or so of its existence, has always focused on accessibility and affordability, and making sure that every individual in the country has been able to participate in digital economy. And this is another area where we are committed to AI for everyone, and making sure that some of these technologies, which are revolutionary in nature, sort of penetrate the Indian market at an accelerated fashion, which also helps us achieve our or move towards our net zero goal. So that's the input that I had to share in terms of the technology. On the other question about the examples for, let's say, integrating sustainability in technology, I'll share a case study of how we have enabled circularity in our network operations, particularly in battery. Now, most of our network facilities run on grids, which is, we source electricity from the grid, and grid failures are, of course, not uncommon. Uh, so the options that we have to make sure that a network is still running even if the grid fails is one, DG said, and the other is as a backup is to have batteries. DG set is of course not desirable because it adds to our footprint, and we are committed to becoming net zero by 2035. So that's like the last option that we will choose when nothing else is available. So what we have done is we have deployed batteries at large scale across our network facilities in India. We deploy around 950,000 or so batteries. The other role that batteries play is to help us capture the solar power that we are generating at around 17,000 or so sites that we have solarized so far, and we have plans to sort of increase that by much more in the coming years. So batteries play a pretty crucial role in our network operations. Now, at the time when we were deciding what type of battery do we deploy, we had the option of either choosing lead acid batteries, which is what some of our peers have actually developed deployed because it's relatively cheaper. What we decided to go with is the lithium ion batteries, which have some specific advantages. It has better charging efficiency, longer life, higher capacity, higher energy density, etc. Now, the challenge with lithium-ion batteries is that it uses rare minerals. It's not as much available in India as we need, and some of it needs to be imported. So when you're deploying batteries at that large scale, of course, some of the batteries will become faulty. What we have in our design, what we have decided is uh, that when a battery sort of stops functioning, we are not going in directly for recovery, but instead we are trying to sort of look at what is the possibility to sort of reuse that battery. Now, remember that batteries form around 80% of our overall waste. So this is like, in terms of our waste footprint, this is pretty huge. So what we do is we open up those batteries, we cannibalize all the good cells, put them together, and then create smaller size batteries, which are then deployed at places where the power load is much lesser. So what that does is it obviates the need for us to procure smaller size batteries, and elongates the life of the batteries as well. And as an initiative, this has helped us save somewhere around 250 to 300 crores so far. So it's been a good case study in terms of how circularity can also have a significant environmental impact as well as a financial impact for a company. So that's the case study that I wanted to share with the group today. Back to you, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Mr. Rajaraghavan. Thank you for the insightful discussion that sustainability is not only about spending money; it can also help to gain other profits and return from the same. Now I'll go to Mr. Sanjay Deshpande, who is the Executive Director and Head of Operation from Care Food India Private Limited. My question to him is: what are the key challenges in implementing the renewable power projects? And the second question is policy development in energy and possible opportunity in the sector. Over to you, Mr. Sanjay.
Hi, Mr. Ghosh. Um, okay, the main problem that I have seen over the years is, and I'm no longer in that sector specifically. I'm in a different part of the circular economy now. But the main problem I have seen is very simply land, whether it is solar or hydro or any other green technology. The crux of the matter is the cost of the land or where land is available. Some of the best places in India for wind power or for solar are very far from areas where the power is needed. So then you're dependent on transmission grids, T&D losses, and so many other things. So that's been the crux of the matter. Um, on the segment of what can we do, right now, from what I see from the government, uh, and in general from many states as well as some corporates, they tend to look at technologies that are already well developed. They bring in incentives and all to put in more solar plants, bigger solar plants, bigger wind projects, source hydro from here and there. Uh, what we need to do is look 10 years ahead. If you're going to really make a change, there are half a dozen technologies out there right now that will that have the potential to change the energy landscape completely at levels that solar and hydro and wind will never achieve. Even nuclear, there are these technologies out there. India is not in many of these fields. We need to put in policies to do the R&D, to set up the plants, to partner with companies which have these technologies or are developing them and bring them in early. Remember, the first mover is going to have the biggest advantage. If somebody in the West beats you, they're going to beat you for a long time. So that's something that has to be kept in mind. Um, as to something I've been hearing from a lot of these conversations about sustainability and all, I would advise all the people listening: if you have a factory or you have an operation somewhere, look around you. Over the years, I've seen some very clever and innovative ideas, which unfortunately I've not seen replicated. For example, I was at if I recall right, a JK Lakshmi factory, cement factory, and they had these vents that were cooling their units and all and blowing air out. Right in front of every one of these vents, they put a little windmill. That's 24 by 7 power coming out of that vent. That was used to light up a floor. So there are lots of these little things out there. If you look around, look at your own unit and all, you'll find many ideas. Another one that we have been involved in, for example, one of the issues with resilience and climate these days is water. How do you ensure your unit gets enough water? How do you ensure that you are safeguarding your future? A lot of companies are now sewering their premises, recycling as much water as possible. But others have taken it one step further. They are combining corporate social responsibility, which is a good part of ESG norms, and sewering communities outside their units, capturing that water and taking it into the plant for treatment and reuse and process. So all of a sudden, you're doing something wonderful for your ESG, which very few have done. At the same time, you are protecting your unit's future. So all I would advise would be that everybody look around you, see what else is out there, what other options are there, and try and implement those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Thank you for highlighting the point that everyone have a great role to play in terms of ESG, and everyone can contribute on the same. So, uh, so now we can move to the question and answer section. Ms. Sakshi, can you take it over from there? Ms. Sakshi, are you online? Can you take it over from here?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Uh, I would also request, now I would like to request Mr. Ghosh to express his views about the government initiatives and policies supporting green power. Over to you, Mr. Ghosh. Am I audible to all?
You are Sakshi. I think Mr. Ghosh's screen is frozen.
Right. I think he's facing some issues with his internet. We will wait uh, for a minute or so. Are we audible to you now, Mr. Ghosh? I would request the attendees to post in their questions in the Q&A chat box uh, for uh, for the speakers. Allow us a moment until we get Mr. Ghosh back. My team is checking on with him. Right. So meanwhile he comes back, we will try and screen some questions.
Sorry, my network got dropped in it.
Okay, we
I
are here.
Okay, so can you repeat the anything? Or just
Sure.
miss the
Mr.
last five
Ghosh,
minutes.
we would appreciate if you would like to express your views about government initiatives and policies supporting green power.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sakshi. As we have a target of 2070 net zero, our government have launched different policies to promote the green energies, like the National Solar Mission, National Mission, 100 gigawatt of solar power by 2022 was our mission, but we have suppressed the mission. Ujjwal Discom and Insurance Yojana Uday, which is to reform the power sector, the discoms and everything to the distribution companies. Also, there is Pradhan Mantri Ujjwal Yojana for LPGs to providing clean energy, clean cooking facility to all the homes. The Performance Achieve and Trade Pact, which is significantly in reducing the reducing the energy efficiency, increasing the parts of energy efficiency, and promoting the same. So the government have taken lots of initiative, but I think that they are not all. Green credits are also coming up. Everything is coming up, but the implementation is lacking. Where I think in the implementation is lacking, and that need to be taken up by our government to implement this to the grassroots level, which is very much needed for improving the green energy journey and our target of maybe zero fossils fuel. So that's from my end. That's all from me.
Great. Thank you so much for that. If you could also elaborate on the expanding on the skills and expertise crucial for success in the realm of sustainability, Mr. Ghosh?
Yes, yes.
Yes. May I repeat the question? Kindly tell us about expanding on the skills and expertise crucial for success in the realm of sustainability.
So as I spoke that solar energy, wind energies, battery storage, small scale hydro, pump hydro is coming up. That the very skilled person is needed in this sector, and still there are we have not able not the universities or the colleges are not giving this type of education to the person who can as a freshers can take up this job. So the next thing possible is we have to look into our education system so that we can revise this accordingly so that the skills and power sector which is needed for solar, hydro, and everything can be taken up in the universities and colleges, and they can have this type of degrees and they can be competent enough to do those jobs. So that education reform is needed uh, for the growth of the professional and also the growth of the nation in a renewable energy sector. Thank you.
And one last question. It would be great to hear about government initiatives and policies to reduce carbon footprint. Mr. Ghosh, we would, it will be great if we can hear about some government initiatives and policies to reduce carbon footprint.
Yes, so the government have various policies, like they have taken the policies of 100 gigawatt solar power by 2022, and also the wind energy mission, the Ujjwal Discount Assurance Yojana, the green credit program, the plastic credit program, the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwal Yojana, the PAT, the Perform Achieve and Trade PAT things. So these are those various programs the government have taken up, but the problem is that it has been implemented in the central level, but not really it has been implemented in the grassroots level. So which is very much needed. So be it be successful for it be successful in the same.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Ghosh. Many thanks to all our esteemed speakers here for this wonderful session. We will now be screening some questions from the audience here. I believe my team will be getting back to you on this, Mr. Yadav. Mr. Ghosh, who do you think is befit to answer this question?
Hi, Shakshi. This is Prakash here. I think I'll just take up this question. Basically,
So I think Mr. Samir can take up this question as he is from Lumina in Cloud Info. So information technologies that can be answered by him.
Bush, you have various platforms offered by different companies. I understand from Mr. Wag himself, Salesforce is one company who offers such solutions. In my previous organizations, we had our inbuilt platform developed by us internally at Philips India Limited. So was the case with Mahindra and Mahindra, where I used to take care of this. Uh, but yes, there are external platforms available. Even Schneider and Siemens, they provide their platforms to collate and analyze the data and make sense of the data, enabling us to take right decisions to ensure that we conduct our activities in a sustainable way. So there are more than one platforms available. Thank you.
We have a raised hand from Mr. Samir Wag. I would like to hand over the mic to him. Mr. Wag, are you available? You can ask in your question here.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to know about these large organizations have some sort of internal systems where we, but there are a number of IoT platforms, and there are certain requirements of data coming automatically getting the data and ensuring whether the energy is and calculating and coming out with carbon footprint, which should be possible for every small to medium entrepreneurs or small to medium organization, large organization, manufacturing organizations. Typically for energy reduction, basically, and for G1, the scope one, and then coming out with carbon footprint calculators. So, what are the ones which you people are recommending? What are the ones which you should say, yeah, everybody should start using these? One of the few, you are experts in the field, so you can assess some of them, and so that everybody starts using it, and that helps out in reducing and coming to the net zero. Because without just by government and some larger organization doing it, we are not going to be net zero. Am I right?
Is there anybody specifically you want to answer this question?
I mean, I can respond and then probably others can also join in.
Sure, sure.
So you rightly said, Mr. Wag, that few big organizations working on this will probably not make a complete impact that we are expecting, and everybody from medium scale and small scale industries also uh, need to jump into this. To begin with, they should look at first putting up systems for uh, gathering data on a regular basis. I have visited a couple of MSMEs where what I have seen is the challenges with respect to even aggregating the basic data. So even if they start with a BMS system or a metering system at relevant points for different utilities that they use, they should be able to start making sense of where they are actually spending. Even if they look at from a cost point to begin with, that will give them an input as to which are the areas they need to do. A lot of small and medium sized companies, they don't willingly go and invest into such technology solutions, is what I have seen. If they are part of the bigger value chain, they are incentivized by the OEMs also to adopt such practices. This scenario is changing, but it is not changing at a pace at which it is expected to. So that's how the industry scenario is to what I have seen, at least in my past experience.
I hope that answers your question, Mr. Wag. We would just move on to the next question now. Uh, Anybody would like to take up this question?
I will have to check. To be very honest, I can connect back to you, Mr. Wag. I do not have a ready answer right now. I'm so sorry for that.
Great. So these are all the questions that we have for today. Thank you so much, dear audience and our panelists. With this, we have come to the end of our virtual event. A very special thanks to you, Mr. Ghosh, for superbly managing this session. Your expertise and guidance has greatly enhanced the quality of this event. Our gratitude to all the speakers for taking time out from their busy schedule for this key industry initiative. And of course, a big shout out to our attendees for extending their time and support to the event. Thanks to our partners. Many thanks to City for the immense support. And as we conclude this event, we assure you that we will be back soon with more exciting sessions. The floor is now open for networking. Thank you, everyone.